For most people, prison is a place of punishment. For some, it's a place of survival. But for Monica James, it was the last stop on a road paved with betrayal, heartbreak, and a thirst for something far more dangerous than escape: revenge. It was just another scorching July morning when the transport van pulled into Palm Bay Women's Correctional Facility, a grim compound tucked away in southern Florida, surrounded by high concrete walls and endless coils of razor wire. The kind of place where dreams went to die, slowly. Monica stepped out of the van with nothing but a small canvas bag, a sharp jawline, and a pair of eyes that looked like they'd seen hell and memorized every detail. She was 29 years old, tall, slender, and unervingly calm. Her black hair was pulled back into a tight ponytail, and her skin, light brown and flawless, gave no hint of the storm she carried inside. Her intake file was thick, 7 years for large-scale fraud. But that wasn't the whole story. Not even close. "You'll be in cell block C," said Officer Johnson, a no-nonsense woman who'd worked at the prison longer than most inmates had been alive. "Cell 12. You'll bunk with Lopez. Don't make waves, and you might walk out of here one day." Monica didn't respond. She just nodded once and followed the woman down the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a pale yellow hue on the gray walls. Everything smelled like bleach and stale despair. Inside the cell, Maria Lopez, a Latino woman with tired eyes and a long braid, looked up from her cot. "Top bunk's yours," she said, not unkindly. "I'm Maria." "Monica," she replied. "From Alabama." Maria smirked. "Alabama, huh? What did you do? Kill a senator?" "Conflict of interest," Monica said flatly, tossing her bag onto the top bunk. Maria raised an eyebrow, but didn't press. That answer told her more than a confession ever could. That night, Monica lay awake, listening to the distant hum of the prison's air vents and the occasional outburst from another cell. She didn't flinch at the sound of a woman screaming in her sleep. She'd heard worse. She'd lived through worse. What the system didn't know, what no one knew, was that Monica James didn't come to Palm Bay just to serve time. She came with a mission. 5 years earlier, in a small Alabama town, Monica was just another bright young woman with big dreams. She was working 2 jobs to put herself through school, studying pre-law, saving every dollar to chase a future no one thought she deserved. Then one night, after a shift at the bar, Deputy Marshal King, the man who wore a badge and a smile that turned sour after dark, offered her a ride home. When she said no, he didn't take it well. What happened next changed the course of her life forever. 3 months later, she was diagnosed with HIV. When she tried to report what had happened, she was mocked, humiliated, and ultimately silenced. The sheriff's office closed ranks. Her statement vanished, and she was threatened with defamation charges. She dropped out of school, lost her job, her reputation, her future. That was the day Monica James died, and someone else took her place. The woman who entered Palm Bay wasn't broken. She was sharp, calculated, and had spent years perfecting her skills in identity theft, financial manipulation, and psychological warfare. She didn't just want revenge on the man who took everything from her. She wanted the system to feel what it was like to be powerless, to be destroyed from the inside out. And Palm Bay was the perfect place to begin. By the end of her first week at Palm Bay, Monica James had learned 2 important things. First, the prison ran on power and secrets, not rules. Second, Warden Raymond Whitaker was not nearly as untouchable as he looked. The warden was a man in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered with graying temples and a voice that tried to sound authoritative but always carried a hint of exhaustion. He ran Palm Bay like a military base, tight schedules, zero tolerance, everything by the book. But behind that clipboard and discipline facade was something Monica had seen before: loneliness. and weakness. Her first meeting with him came quicker than she expected. On her 5th day, she was escorted into his office, a large room with polished wood, family photos, and an American flag standing stiff in the corner. "Miss James," he said without looking up from the thick file on his desk, "you've made quite a name for yourself." Monica sat perfectly still, back straight, voice calm. "I didn't realize I was already that popular." He glanced up, and for a second, their eyes locked. "You worked in a library at your last facility?" "Yes, sir. I was in charge of organizing the catalog system." "We need someone in the library here," he said. "It's a privileged position. Better hours. More space. Fewer eyes watching." "I'd be honored," Monica replied. "I'm good with books. They don't lie." That earned her the faintest smile. Before she left, Warden Whitaker added one more thing. "But let's be clear, Miss James, whatever got you in trouble at your last prison won't fly here. I don't tolerate manipulation. You break the rules here, and you'll find out just how small this place can get." "Understood, sir." She walked out of that office with her head held high and her first victory in place. Back in her cell, Maria was stretched out on the lower bunk, flipping through a battered romance novel. "How'd it go with the boss?" she asked without looking up. "I got the library job," Monica said casually. Maria dropped the book. "Damn, that was fast." Monica didn't reply. She simply started folding her limited clothing, organizing it in perfect lines on the bunk. She knew exactly what she was doing, building trust, staying clean, getting close to the one man in the prison who held real power. She didn't plan to stay invisible. She planned to be indispensable. The next day, Monica went for her required medical evaluation. Dr. Elijah Brown greeted her with a tired smile and antiseptic on his hands. He was a kind man, maybe too kind for a place like Palm Bay. He leafed through her medical file quietly, eyes narrowing as he came to the last page. "You've been on antiretroviral therapy for 5 years, he said, more as a statement than a question. Monica nodded. "I never miss a dose." Dr. Brown looked at her, genuinely concerned. "Just so you know, your medical status is confidential here. I have access and the medical staff who treat you. But administrators typically don't see everything unless they dig." "That's good to know," Monica replied softly. "Thank you for telling me." She meant it, because now she knew Whitaker didn't know. And if he didn't know, that meant he was vulnerable. Over the following weeks, Monica settled into her new routine. She kept her head down, showed up early to the library, and transformed the once-forgotten room into something organized, quiet, and oddly peaceful. She learned what books were favorites among the women, which guards were too lazy to patrol, and when Whitaker's rounds passed near the library door. He started visiting. At first, it was small talk, work updates, questions about how she managed the catalog. But then came the longer visits. Personal questions, lingering silences, occasional smiles. She wasn't just gaining his trust, she was becoming his escape. One evening, Maria sat up in her bunk and narrowed her eyes at Monica. "You know he's starting to look at you different, right?" "Is that so?" Monica replied, not looking up from her book. "I've been here 3 years. I've seen him look different at girls before. Some of them got favors. Most of them got transferred, and one of them ended up in solitary for months." Monica closed her book. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying be careful. You play with fire long enough, you're going to get burned." Monica smiled faintly. "I don't play with fire, Maria. I light it." For Monica James, the library wasn't just a sanctuary. It was a stage, and every day she was rehearsing for the final act. By now, Warden Raymond Whitaker visited the library almost daily. Sometimes he'd talk about new books the prison should order, or make vague jokes about how peaceful it was in the stacks. But other times, he'd just linger, watching her as she moved along the shelves, quietly shelving paperbacks and pretending not to notice the way his eyes followed her. What he didn't know was that every word, every glance, every moment was being logged, analyzed, stored inside Monica's mind. She wasn't here to flirt. She was here to dismantle a man who thought he was untouchable. And she was just getting started. That night in the cell, Monica sat on her bunk, her eyes fixed on the concrete wall, while Maria brushed her braid in silence. Then, almost too quietly, Monica spoke. "You said you were a nurse. What kind of nursing?" Maria paused, confused by the sudden shift in tone. "Infectious diseases. Tampa City Hospital. I left before things got messy." Monica turned to face her, voice lower now. "So you know how viruses work, how to transmit them." Maria's hand froze in her hair. "Why are you asking that?" "I need someone I can trust," Monica said. "Someone with medical knowledge, and someone without too many moral lines." Maria's eyes narrowed. "That sounds like trouble." "It is," Monica admitted. "But I'm already in prison. I've got nothing left to lose." There was a long pause before Maria spoke again. "What are you planning?" Monica looked down at her hands, then back up. "I have HIV. You already know that. But what you don't know is how I got it." Maria said nothing, but her posture shifted. "I was raped," Monica continued, "by a cop, a deputy sheriff named Marshall King. I tried to report it. They called me a liar. Said I was just a bar girl with a reputation. I lost everything. School, my job, my future." Maria swallowed hard. "So this what you're doing now?" "I want someone to feel the way I felt," Monica said coldly. "To lose everything in one moment. And I've chosen my target." Maria didn't have to ask who. The name hung in the air like smoke. "Warden Whitaker." Maria stood up abruptly, pacing the cell like a cornered animal. "You're insane," she whispered. "You're talking about intentionally infecting someone. That's a crime. Another crime." "I know," Monica said, "but this isn't just about revenge. It's about justice. He's abused women in this prison. Don't act like you haven't heard the stories." Maria stopped. "What makes you think it'll work?" "Because he already wants me. All I have to do is let him think he's in control," Monica said with chilling clarity. "But when it's done, when the virus is in him, he'll know what it feels like to be powerless. Just like I was." Maria looked at her, torn between fear and awe. "And then what? You think he's just going to let you walk around with that kind of power over him?" Monica's gaze didn't waver. "I don't plan on surviving." The room went silent. Maria sat back down slowly, her voice a whisper. "You're going to die on purpose." "I already died 5 years ago," Monica said. "This is just the funeral." The next few days passed with surgical precision. Monica continued her routine in the library. She smiled at Whitaker, laughed at his bad jokes, told him just enough about her past to seem vulnerable, but not enough to seem dangerous. He lapped it up. Dr. Elijah Brown, meanwhile, became more observant. He noticed the subtle changes, the quiet looks, the slight brushes of contact. He knew something wasn't right. During Monica's next routine medical checkup, he closed the door and spoke gently but firmly. "I've seen the way he looks at you." Monica tilted her head. "He's the warden. It's his job to look at everything." "I also know your medical status," he continued. "And if you're involved with him, that's a serious issue. For everyone. Are you concerned about my health, doctor?" Monica asked, her tone soft but dangerous. "I'm concerned about a tragedy waiting to happen," he replied. She smiled just barely. "You have no proof, just suspicions. And patient confidentiality still applies, doesn't it?" Dr. Brown looked at her, equal parts worried and helpless. "Whatever you're doing, just remember, not all revenge leads to justice." Monica stood to leave. "Sometimes, doctor, it's the only road left." That night, Maria watched Monica from across the cell, her voice barely audible. "Are you sure about this?" Monica didn't even blink. "It's already in motion. He'll fall. They all will. And if you die?" Maria asked. Monica reached into her mattress, pulled out a tightly sealed envelope, and handed it to her. If I don't come back one night, you deliver this. Detective Lauren Mitchell, Major Crimes Unit. It has everything: photos, letters, recordings. Enough to bring the whole place down. Maria held the envelope like it was a live grenade. Why me? Because you're the only one I trust. By the third week, Warden Raymond Whitaker was no longer pretending. He was showing up at the library even when he didn't have a reason. At first, he'd make up excuses, checking on book inventories, asking about inmate reading habits. But soon, he wasn't even bothering with those. He just stood there, in the quiet of the prison library, watching Monica James like a man trying to remember what it felt like to be seen. And Monica? She played the part masterfully. Soft glances, thoughtful smiles, the occasional brush of her fingers against his arm when she handed him a clipboard. She let the silence linger between them, just long enough to make it feel intimate. You've really turned this place around, Whitaker said one afternoon, leaning against a bookshelf. Monica smiled gently. Books are easier to manage than people. They don't lie. They don't judge. He chuckled, then looked at her. Serious now? You ever think about what your life could have been like if things had gone differently? Monica didn't flinch. She looked him dead in the eyes. Every day, that night, back in the cell, Maria Lopez stared at her from the lower bunk. You know he's falling for you. That's the plan. You're not just seducing him, Maria said. You're taming him, like an animal. Monica lay on her back, arms crossed. That's how you get close to predators. Slowly, carefully. You make them feel safe. And then you put the knife in. By the end of the month, their meetings evolved into something more dangerous. Sometimes Whitaker would stay in the library after hours, locking the door behind him. Other times, he called Monica to his office under the pretense of a disciplinary review, only to pour himself a drink and talk for an hour about his crumbling marriage and how he felt invisible in his own home. Monica listened like she cared, because that's what he needed. And then, one night it happened. In the quiet of his office, lit only by the desk lamp and the fading Florida sun, Whitaker leaned in. He hesitated for a moment, as if waiting for a sign. Monica didn't move, didn't flinch, just look him in the eyes. That's all it took. He kissed her. After that, the dam broke. Whitaker became obsessed. He arranged for her cleaning shifts to be reassigned so she could spend more time in the library. He gave her small luxuries, extra blankets, better food, private showers. Things no other inmate received. Their physical relationship escalated quickly, taking place behind locked doors in his office, in the library, and in used corners of the facility. And all the while, Monica kept track of everything. Every letter he wrote, every whispered confession, every moment he let his guard down. She had hidden microphones crafted from broken radios, recording devices disguised as books, and a journal full of dates, locations, and details. She wasn't just breaking him. She was building a case. Dr. Elijah Brown noticed. He always noticed. He'd catch glimpses of them in the dining hall. Whitaker smiling too long. Monica walking just a little slower as he passed by. During her next checkup, he confronted her. You're playing with fire. I'm not playing, doctor, Monica replied. I'm executing. You know I could report this, he said, his voice tight with concern. You could, she said evenly. But you'd have to admit you violated medical confidentiality by telling him about my diagnosis. That alone could cost you your license. Dr. Brown stared at her. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. What is this really about? Monica looked him in the eyes. Justice, she said. Not your kind. Mine. Later that night, Maria watched Monica with unease. Are you really going through with it? It's already done, Monica said. He knows. He suspects. But the moment he's sure, he'll spiral. Maria looked horrified. He'll kill you. Monica nodded. Probably. But he'll lose everything first: his career, his reputation, his family, his health. She opened her mattress again, pulled out a new flash drive, and handed it to Maria. "This has voice recordings. Don't open it. Just deliver it if I die." Maria held the drive like it was a live wire. "You trust me that much? You're the only one who knows the whole truth, and the only one who understands why it has to end this way." 2 more weeks passed. Whitaker was unraveling. His behavior grew erratic. He snapped at officers. He isolated himself from his staff. Rumors began to spread among the inmates. Whispers of favoritism, of late-night meetings, of secret relationships. Monica, meanwhile, moved through the prison like a ghost with a mission. She knew it was almost time. The trap was closing. It was a Thursday night. Late. Most of the prison was quiet. Only the distant echo of footsteps and the low hum of fluorescent lights remained. Monica James was returning to her cell after closing the library when a young correctional officer with nervous eyes stepped into her path. "Warden wants to see you." "Now," he said, avoiding her gaze. Monica nodded once. She already knew, but this time the route was different. Instead of heading toward the administrative wing, the guard led her down a back corridor, rarely used except for maintenance. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead. The air was cooler, damp. She could smell mildew and old bleach. This wasn't a meeting. This was the beginning of the end. The guard stopped in front of a steel door marked "Utility Storage" and opened it without a word. Inside, standing beneath the buzz of a single dangling bulb, were Warden Raymond Whitaker and his deputy, Greg Sanders. Monica stepped inside, calm as ever. "Well," she said, her voice echoing slightly, "if you wanted ambience, you nailed it." "Shut up," Sanders snapped, stepping forward, his face twisted with rage. But Whitaker raised a hand, stopping him. His face was gaunt, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "No," Whitaker said hoarsely. "Let her speak. I want to hear it from her." Monica didn't blink. "You want me to say it out loud?" "Say it," he growled. "I have HIV," she said evenly. "And yes, I knew it when we started sleeping together. Every time. I wanted you to feel what I felt the day my life ended. Now you know." The words hit him like a hammer. He staggered back, grabbing a shelf for support. "You destroyed my life," he whispered. Monica stepped closer. "Now you understand." Sanders lunged, grabbing her arm. "Where's the proof? You said you had evidence. Where is it?" Monica smiled. "Safe. Hidden. And if I die, it gets sent to people who don't take kindly to prison wardens sleeping with inmates and spreading viruses." Whitaker stared at her with pure hatred and panic. "You don't understand. My wife left me. My kids won't talk to me. My career is over. I've got nothing left." "Exactly," Monica whispered. "That's what you left me with 5 years ago. Now we're even." Sanders pulled out rope. Monica didn't resist. "This won't stop what's coming," she said. Sanders wrapped the rope around her neck. "No one's going to ask questions. Sick inmate. Suicide. End of story." Whitaker hesitated, but then grabbed Monica's arms to hold her still. And in that dim storage room, they made her death look like another silent tragedy behind prison walls. The next morning, her body was found hanging from the bars of her cell window. The official story: suicide due to mental health decline after her HIV diagnosis. But some people, one person in particular, knew better. Maria Lopez, Monica's cellmate, screamed when she saw the body. She sobbed uncontrollably as guards pulled her away. But by lunchtime, she was calm again, because she had a mission now. 2 days later, an envelope arrived on the desk of Detective Lauren Mitchell at the Palm Bay Major Crimes Unit. Inside, a detailed journal written by Monica James. Audio recordings of her and Warden Whitaker. Photos of them together in his office. A flash drive containing names, dates, and a chilling confession. If you're reading this, I'm already dead. Don't let them bury the truth with me. Detective Mitchell leaned back in her chair, stunned. This isn't suicide, she muttered. This was premeditated murder. And Monica had just lit the fuse. The package from Maria Lopez had been delivered exactly as planned. And now, Detective Lauren Mitchell, a sharp-minded investigator with 15 years in major crimes, sat alone in her office, surrounded by evidence that threatened to upend everything at Palm Bay Women's Correctional Facility. She replayed one of the recordings, Monica's voice steady and cold. He'll try to kill me. I know it. And when he does, I want the world to know what he did to me and to others. Detective Mitchell picked up the phone. Give me the district attorney's office. Now, the very next day, under the pretense of a routine inspection, Lauren walked through the gates of Palm Bay. She was calm, professional, but inside her blood boiled. The moment she asked to speak with Warden Whitaker, she was informed he had taken indefinite leave for family matters. Instead, she was greeted by Deputy Warden Greg Sanders, who barely concealed his discomfort. We've already ruled the inmate's death a suicide, Sanders said, forcing a polite smile. She'd recently received a terminal diagnosis. It's not uncommon. Her name was Monica James, Lauren interrupted, and I'd like to speak with her cellmate, Maria Lopez, alone. Sanders hesitated. That may not be necessary. It's not a request, she said. It's a homicide investigation. Inside the sterile, echoing interview room, Maria Lopez sat across from Lauren, silent at first. Then the detective pulled out the envelope, laid it gently on the table. Maria's eyes flicked to it, and something shifted in her face. Recognition. Relief. Do you know what this is? Lauren asked softly. I sent it, Maria said, voice steady. She made me promise. And then, for the next hour, she told everything. How Monica had been raped years earlier by a powerful deputy. How she was diagnosed with HIV. How she lost everything. How she came to prison not to serve time, but to expose the system that failed her. She explained how Monica had seduced the warden, not out of lust, but to trap him. And how, in the end, she knew she wouldn't survive. She called it completing the circle, Maria said. She wasn't afraid. She was resolute. Detective Mitchell left the prison in silence, heart pounding. The next day, she filed a request to exhume Monica's body. 2 weeks later, the results came in. The autopsy revealed ligature marks around the neck inconsistent with suicide. Specifically, evidence of manual strangulation before hanging. It wasn't a hanging. It was a cover-up. An arrest warrant was issued for Raymond Whitaker. But he was gone. Vanished. His house was empty. His phone disconnected. His credit cards unused. The man who once ruled Palm Bay like a king was now a fugitive, running from the ghost of a woman he thought he'd silenced. Under pressure, Greg Sanders cracked. Faced with the autopsy, the recordings, and Maria's testimony, he confessed in full. The secret meeting in the storage room. The rope. The plan to make it look like suicide. And Whitaker's role in holding Monica down while she died. The confession rocked the state. Lauren Mitchell stood in front of the cameras at a press conference 2 days later and said the words that echoed across the country. This wasn't a suicide. This was an execution orchestrated by men in power against a woman they couldn't control. But the story wasn't done. Because inside Monica's envelope, beyond the recordings and the diary, was something else. A manila folder, labeled Alabama, Deputy Marshal King. Inside were records, dates, and testimony. Proof that Monica's rape case had been covered up, and evidence that she wasn't his only victim. Detective Mitchell forwarded the information to Alabama state authorities. Days later, Marshal King was arrested and charged with multiple counts of sexual assault, abuse of power, and intentional transmission of a deadly disease. Back in Florida, Dr. Elijah Brown, the prison's long-suffering doctor, testified during Sanders' pretrial hearing. His voice cracked as he spoke of Monica, of how he tried to intervene, of how powerless he felt. Then he quietly resigned from Palm Bay. He now works at a community clinic in Miami, treating HIV-positive patients who can't afford care. As for Maria Lopez, she was granted early release for her role in exposing the murder. She gave a single interview before disappearing from public life. "She trusted me," Maria had said, "and I did what she asked. That's all." And Monica? She never saw justice with her own eyes, but she forced it to happen. Her headstone, set in a quiet cemetery outside Palm Bay, bears no dates, no flowers, no photograph, only 5 words, carved into the stone by an anonymous benefactor. Justice has been served. The story of Monica James swept through the country like a wildfire, starting with a few headlines in Florida, then jumping to national news networks within days. Inmate orchestrates Warden's downfall before mysterious death. Was it suicide or something far worse? Justice from the grave. Talk shows debated it. Podcasts dissected it. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Monica James. Hashtag prison justice. Hashtag she fought back. People were divided. Some called her a criminal who went too far. Others called her a martyr. But one thing was undeniable. She made them look. At the system. At the abuse. At the silence that had protected predators in uniforms for far too long. In the months following her death, a state-level investigation was launched into Palm Bay Women's Correctional Facility and 5 other prisons like it. Testimonies poured in, from current inmates, former guards, nurses, clerks, each one painting a darker picture than the last. Inappropriate relationships, abuse of authority, intimidation, solitary confinement used as punishment for women who spoke up. Monica's case had opened a door that could no longer be closed. Legislators, under mounting public pressure, passed a bill called the James Act, named after her. It introduced mandatory body cameras for senior prison staff. It required external oversight for medical confidentiality cases involving HIV-positive inmates. And it offered a protected channel for female inmates to report sexual misconduct without fear of retaliation. "We can't undo what happened to Monica James," said Senator April Gaines at the signing. "But we can make damn sure it doesn't happen again." Meanwhile, Detective Lauren Mitchell was promoted to chief investigator for the state's Department of Institutional Justice. She declined all media requests, but in a private conversation with a fellow officer, she admitted, "I still don't know who the real victim was. Monica, Whitaker, Dr. Brown, maybe all of them. This system breaks people." She just refused to break quietly. Maria Lopez, after her release, lived under a new name in a small town in North Carolina. She never returned to prison, never gave another interview. But once a year, on the anniversary of Monica's death, she sent a single white rose to that small cemetery outside Palm Bay. The card always read the same. "You were right." As for Warden Raymond Whitaker, he now lives in silence, in a maximum security facility just hours away from the very prison he once ran. He spends 23 hours a day alone in his cell. When asked by a reporter during intake if he had anything to say about the charges against him, he stared at the wall and muttered only 3 words. "She won. Completely." And somewhere, perhaps not in body, but in spirit, Monica James is still watching, still fighting. Because what started as one woman's private war became something larger, a reckoning, a revolution, a name whispered in fear and respect inside prison walls across America. The last line of her journal, read aloud during a congressional hearing by a trembling intern, brought the room to silence. The truth can be buried, but it grows roots, and eventually it finds the light. Justice has been served, but the echo remains. A year had passed. The headlines faded. The cameras moved on. But for the people who lived it, Monica James's story was still unfinished. In a small clinic on the edge of Miami, Dr. Elijah Brown now spent his days treating patients who had been ignored by the system. Many of them women, many of them HIV positive, most of them forgotten. On the wall above his desk, beside a framed diploma and a prayer card, was a simple photograph. It was grainy, printed from a still frame of a prison security camera. It showed Monica James walking through the hallway of Palm Bay, head high, books in hand. He looked at it every day. She wasn't perfect, he once told a colleague, but she was the loudest voice the system ever tried to silence. At the Florida State Capitol, the James Act became a case study for prison reform across the country. Advocates pushed for its expansion nationwide, and a growing movement of formerly incarcerated women took Monica's name as a symbol of survival and defiance. They wore black T-shirts with white letters that read, "Speak like Monica." But the story didn't end in courtrooms or legislation. Sometimes it ended quietly, like in a living room in Montgomery, Alabama, where a woman in her 60s held her daughter's hand after hearing the full story of what had happened to Monica. She looked at her daughter and whispered, "That could have been me." And it ended, too, in a courtroom in Alabama, where Marshall King, the former deputy who once walked with a badge and a secret, stood in handcuffs as the judge read out the sentence. Life in prison without parole. He looked out into the gallery and saw 3 women sitting together, former victims who finally found the courage to speak up because of Monica's story. None of them smiled, but none of them cried either. Justice, this time, was not a dramatic moment. It was a quiet, powerful shift in the air, like a page turning. At the edge of Palm Bay, under a rusted wrought iron archway, sits a cemetery where few people visit. But on the second Saturday of every April, a small group gathers at a single grave. Former inmates, activists, doctors, strangers who just read her story. They stand in a circle, some in silence, some in prayer. Someone always brings a tape recorder, playing the final recording Monica left behind. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. But maybe now, someone else will be heard. Not everyone can fight, but some of us must. So fight for them. Please. The tape always ends with a whisper, a breath, a click, and then silence. But by then, Monica's voice is already everywhere. In state bills, in law school syllabi, in the courage of a woman who refuses to be quiet. Justice was never about punishment. It was about making them listen. And now they finally have. If this story moved you, or made you think twice about the people we forget behind bars, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. We share true stories like this every single day. Stories of justice, betrayal, survival, and truth. And your support helps us keep those voices alive. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a story that matters. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow with another powerful true crime story.